Welcome to the Sooners 360 Recruiting Podcast, a podcast for OU recruiting fans by Sooners 360. Each week we catch you up on the latest in OU recruiting news and provide opinions and evaluations on all things OU football recruiting. I'm Chris Mason, lead recruiting analyst for Sooners 360. This podcast is now sponsored by Sooners 360 on Patreon. To support this podcast, please go to patreon.com/Sooners360817 and click subscribe. It's only $2 a month. There's also a free trial option, and this Patreon site helps keep this podcast going and helps keep this podcast free. I'm also posting all of my regular written recruiting content on the Patreon site. The link will also be in the podcast show notes. Also, this podcast is now part of the Believe podcast family. Every team, every topic, everywhere. Also, I'm appearing regularly on the Horns Down podcast YouTube channel discussing OU's season. So please like and subscribe to that YouTube channel. You can search for it by going to YouTube and searching for Horns Down, and you'll find it. This is episode 104, Running Back Recruiting Takes Over. As always, we'll jump into the current recruiting news related to the 2025 class. So right after I recorded last week, a new offer went out to a player we have been discussing for about a month. OU finally pulled the trigger and offered Baylor commit linebacker Caleb Burns from the Houston area. Barnes, according to OU Insiders podcast, is likely to visit OU for the South Carolina game. In terms of his Baylor commit status, Baylor lost again on Saturday, kind of got beaten up and dominated by Iowa State. So I think with Pittman at Arkansas maybe having stabilized things a little bit, that Dave Aranda could be the first P4 coach fired. It's not going well. They're racking up losses. They still have the number of difficult for them Big 12 games coming up. Their quarterback situation is a mess. It just doesn't look like it's going to work for Dave Aranda in Waco. Should Burns decommit, I think OU has a great chance of flipping him and him becoming a Sooner. He's having a sensational senior year. The footage on Huddle is excellent week over week. He's about 6'1", 6'2", 225, 230. Just a natural fit for either the Mike or Will linebacker spots that OU has. He's a 3-star right now by a couple of services. On3 has him as a 4-star. But I would say, based upon a thorough scouting analysis of his senior film or seeing him in person, that he really should be a composite 4-star in the top 250, 300 ranking range. And I think OU has a good chance of making a flip here. We'll see where we stand after the South Carolina game. In other linebacker recruiting news, OU coaches are on Twitter are following some new names, interacting with some guys. This is kind of how this process kind of tends to work. I'm not sure if they're going to make any new offers to any additional players, but right now they're definitely engaging with some guys. And they also seem to be re-engaging with previous offer and Michigan commit Kamar Archie. Archie is the 6'3", 220-pound linebacker. He's part of the 2025 class. He's a linebacker running back for Hunt Academy, which is where Logan Howland is from. OU obviously has been recruiting Cole Brewer from there, who ended up choosing Stanford, and has been involved in recruiting. I'm pretty sure I think it's Owen Waffle, who's the defensive end from Hunt Academy. His brother Luke, I may have the brothers reversed, so you have to bear with me. His brother Luke, I believe, chose Michigan last year, big defensive end, and Owen's a defensive end there at Hunt Academy. For those that remember way back in the recruiting world, Myron Roll back in the day was from Hunt Academy. So it's a prep school in New Jersey that routinely has players. So Kamar Archie, OU is involved with. kind of backed off when I think OU thought they had a better chance with Christian Jones or Elijah Melendez over the summer. He verbaled to Michigan. OU seems to be re-engaging with him. So, and I've got a couple other linebackers I've identified they're also kind of engaging with. So OU kind of going from one linebacker to maybe two to maybe three. What do I think is going on there? Well, I think if OU could get Caleb Burns and win that recruiting battle, which is not going to be easy. Ole Miss and Oregon are probably going to stay involved in that. Probably some other schools. It wouldn't shock me if Texas A&M makes a run. But I think if OU could get two true inside linebackers, and Kamar Archie's an amazing athlete with a big frame, so he would almost be a natural fit at either Mike or Will. That might allow you to move Marcus James, the Carl Albert verbal, who's every bit 6'4", maybe a little bigger. And I think once he gets on campus, he's probably around 225, 230 right now. I can see him bulking up past 240 easily. And I think it might be that OU's thinking that Marcus James' long-term future is as a rush outside linebacker, rush end. Because he could easily probably carry 6'4" with his 6'4" frame, long wingspan. I think maybe his natural position might be as an edge pass rusher. I think he could easily carry 250 pounds on his frame without much trouble. So that would also fill. Though you could get another couple of linebackers. James is now kind of your rush defensive end to go with C.J. Nixon. And that kind of takes care of two problems, I think, in the class. It adds another pass rusher with significant ability. I mean, Marcus James is a fantastic athlete. He's very underrated in this class. And the thought of him being like a 6'4", 245-pound edge rusher makes a lot of sense to me. I've been kind of thinking that. But I have to give credit to Brandon Drum over at OU Insider on one of their podcasts mentioned that possibility recently. So the ongoing Andrew Babalola saga, still the end of October. Nothing is breaking news-wise here in terms of who might be the winner. Doesn't look like any visits are going to occur until after his decision, maybe. OU still, according to my sources, believes that they are in it, that they have a chance to close on Babalola, add him to just a fantastic class. Foji, Fasusi, and Afalava are all putting up fantastic film. Hollenbeck's film is good. It looks like his junior film. He needs, he's a massive kid with his powerlifting, and he's super strong. Athleticism-wise, agility-wise, he probably needs to reshape himself a little bit when he gets to Norman. But he's not really a player, I think. He's going to enroll early, but he's not a player I think OU's looking to maybe help them out next year. Whereas I could see Afalava, Foji, and Fasusi, if they come into campus early, have a great start, don't have any injuries, setbacks, could push their way into the two deep. Or allow OU to start setting up a true development too deep on the O-line to avoid being in the transfer portal. This class 25 plus 24, it gives you a lot of young, athletic, very talented offensive linemen that could really springboard to where your 25, 26, and 27 offensive lines just really are loaded with internal development players, and you're not in the portal. So an annoying piece of O-line news, recruiting news. OU hasn't made any new offers. I kind of wish they had some offers out there to some players of interest. I think that would have been a good fit for the class as a fifth player. And if you get Babalola, you sign 6 offensive linemen. And really, does this year not tell you that 4 offensive linemen is nice, 5 is better, and 6 would be just fine? So they didn't offer a guy from Midlothian called Nelson McGuire, who I was hoping they would offer. He just committed to Texas A&M. He's a teammate of 2026 OU O-line target Noah Best. And McGuire has some guard tackle flexibility that would be a nice fit in with what OU's doing. Unrelated to OU, sort of, it looks like A&M is pushing to flip Lamont Rogers from Missouri. I believe he was at that Texas A&M beatdown of the Mizzou Paper Tigers on Saturday, and it looks like that might be falling next week or two. It's not really related to OU, but that's actually, I think it's actually a good thing for OU from a certain perspective, because if A&M can get Lamont Rogers, that means they're not going to be in some desperate late cash NIL binge to try and flip Foji or Pasusi in late November, early December, try and pull something with signing day. If they're throwing their money behind Lamont Rogers and stealing him from Missouri, it's fine by me. The only other thing on 2025 recruiting, and it's still very weird, is there are no D-line defensive tackle offers for 2025. Nothing's happened. This continues to be an ongoing mystery that all recruiting sites are both tracking and reporting. OU, after losing both Floyd Picard, who went ahead and verbal to USC. Enjoy USC, Floyd. I think it's a terrible fit for you development-wise, not where you need to go. But I can understand LA and their D-line guy who's connected to the Rams. I can understand why you chose them, but I don't think, Floyd, that's the development model that you're really going to like. So. But good luck to you. I love talking to you. So I know you obviously sort of let Kamari Moore decommit and walk away. So there's a master plan here somewhere, I'm hoping. Todd Bates has not left OU hanging in terms of signing defensive line talent in any of his full years at OU. He got on board and quickly got Grayson Holton in 2022, 2023, after he lost Hayden McDonald and Hicks, he got OU Marcus Strong and Ashton Sanders. And last year, obviously, he got OU right up front, Jaden Jackson and David Stone. So, and obviously picked up Dejon Terry and Dominic Williams in the transfer market. So, I don't see Todd Bates sitting on Trent Wilson only in this class. Trent's having a great year. I love Trent. I think Trent is going to be a fantastic defensive lineman for OU. Continuing that trend, and 2026 D-line recruiting is going very well in terms of identifying players, getting players on campus interested in OU. So there's something going on. We just haven't seen the clouds break to let us know why the offers haven't occurred. So I suspect OU's working guys that were either they tried to get on campus or that verbaled elsewhere and are now open to visiting. Christian Evans is a name that I kind of keep expecting. The guy who verbaled to Vatek, didn't visit OU. Kind of expect him to kind of pop back up. But I got nothing on that, but trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So as soon as something breaks with offers, we'll have this podcast. We'll have the information and we'll let you know. And we'll break down the analysis of what we think is happening and why OU went that way. But right now, OU has one interior defensive lineman in the class. I do not see any way that OU gets to December signing day without at least one, maybe two more. So that's the 2025 update. Last week, we talked about quarterbacks. This week, we're going to talk about running backs. So first, let's just talk about the 2025 running back commitment, Torrey Blaylock, who plays at Atascocita, who are having a sensational year. And Torrey's having an amazing season so far. 5 games in, I think he's averaging something like 9 yards a carry and has something like 60 carries for like 560 yards, something like that. So then he's not playing full halves. He's not toting the rock 40 times a game or something like that, like some high school running backs are. His most recent game featuring, again, another blistering long distance run where guys with angles are just giving up because he's so fast. He's like a cheat code. So Torrey last week had 187 yards on 13 carries. Let me do my high school math here real quick. That's something like 15 yards a carry, close to 15 yards a carry. I think that's pretty good. 3 TDs, obviously. One was his big TDs. His home run potential is maybe as good as any back in the country right now. That's the kind of film he's putting out there. 2 touchdown runs, one is 72 yards, one is 70. So he had 2 carries for 142 yards. So his other 43 carries were much shorter. But a couple of those, at least one of those carries was a short touchdown run. So you can't really fault him for that because, he got to the end zone. So he looks really good. It looks like a solid scouting evaluation from DeMarco Murray again. I know some folks are down on Murray after last year's running back confusion. And obviously the running backs this year aren't setting the world on fire. I'm not sure how much I blame Murray for that. He recruited Taylor Tatum. He's coached up Javonte Barnes. And Sawchuk is just hampered by the offensive line not creating any holes for the way he runs the ball. So, but if you're frustrated with DeMarco and want a running back coach change, I can understand that. I don't agree with it. I can perfectly understand it. Wouldn't argue at all with you really over it. Just let you know from a recruiting standpoint, Torrey Blaylock's playing great. And if he can enroll early and you combine him with Barnes and Tatum and an offensive line that can actually run block, that's a home run hitting running back group that has some serious juice to it. So who knows? Now, for 2026, DeMarco is really focused on 3 running backs. He already got Jonathan Hatton from San Antonio, from the San Antonio area. He offered Caden Jones, obviously, the OU alum. Legacy. His dad was Kawan Jones. Caden Jones is at Jenks. He's having a pretty good year. And then the major other running back is Javian Osborne from, I think it's Forney, Texas, who's been to OU a couple of times, but if I'll be honest, looks like he's probably heading to Texas, if I had to guess right now, Texas or Ohio State. And one of the big reasons why I don't think OU can probably get Osborne is Hatton's having a stupid good year. He looks sensational. This past weekend, his team, his San Antonio-based high school team, was it a complete shootout, something like 65-55 or something. And Hatton was a huge in that game. He had 221 yards on 25 carries. So, right around 9 yards a carry on 25 carries. Another 65-yard touchdown run. He's running with power, speed. He's cutting, agility. He just looks fantastic. I think Hatton is making a serious claim to be a top 30 player in the nation, 5-star, number 1 running back in the country. Osborne's really good. A couple other guys around the nation as well. But I think Hatton is putting up numbers that would indicate that he is as good as anyone. Caden, Jenks is having a little bit of an up and down season, but Caden's putting up some good numbers. Last week, he had over 130 yards on 27 carries. So, really productive day there. 2 touchdowns. He said he had 2 more that were called back. So that's the 2026-2025 running back situation. You've got Blaylock and Hatton. I think OU will add another running back. And then 2027, DeMarco took the bye week and was very productive. He offered three new running backs. The first one was Noah Roberts from Arizona, from the Chandler, Arizona. His midseason huddle video is available. He's a big-looking back with excellent speed and agility. Shows some serious power. Shows a good receiving game too. I wouldn't. Maybe it's because he's from Arizona, but there's a little Bijan Robinson maybe to his game. So hopefully, now that we have Murray, not the guy who screwed up OU recruiting Bijan Robinson. Now that Murray's on it, offered him early. I think OU could make Noah Roberts a focus, but they did offer two other running backs who look really good. They offered Jacoby Dixon from Brenham, Texas. He doesn't have too much of his sophomore footage out yet. His freshman year highlight is really good. Good agility, cut back, good speed. He's listed as 5'11", 190. That seems about accurate to me, but he looks really good. And then they just offered today, I'm recording this Monday night, running back from Tennessee, David Gabriel Georges, who's getting offers left and right. His midseason huddle video is out. He's showing excellent agility, vision, and home run speed. So 2027 offers are out in terms of running backs, and OU now has three more players to kind of evaluate and see where OU might go in terms of those players. As I said, on some of the social media traffic flying around, Noah Roberts seemed really pretty excited about the OU the OU offer. And he looks like he could be an elite kind of guy. He's listed at 6'1". I'm not sure I buy that, but he's easily 5'11", 6 foot, and the 200 pounds that he says he is, I definitely buy that. He's a load to pull down, and he also is showing really good speed and agility, cutting, finding the lanes, patience, those kind of running back skills that you all look for. He seems to have it. So that's a rundown of DeMarco Murray's recruiting situation. Like I said, I really think Torrey Blaylock is having the kind of season where he's probably a composite 4-star, but like in the 300 range. I really think he's having the kind of season with Atascocita where he needs to be up in the top 150, top 125 area. He just looks sensational, and the speed he flashed in spring during track season is just, it's all over the football field. If you haven't watched some of his highlights, please just go to X, type in Torrey Blaylock. You'll find his listing. He posts his highlights. Everybody's posting his highlights lately because they're just fantastic. And you can just see that his home run speed is just game changing. In terms of a combo back with Tatum, it's with, as long as we can get an online going, it's pretty exciting. I mean, he's, one play, one cut and gone it's truly defines him. So I've been keeping you up to date with what's going on with other OU verbals in 2025. Their senior seasons are moving along. And I've been, week over week, I've been kind of telling you the couple of guys are just having sensational seasons. Like, why aren't they being ranked higher kind of seasons? And one of those names, obviously, is Elijah Thomas, the wide receiver from Chakota. He just had a fantastic day where he had, I think, 10 receptions, just under 200 yards, multiple touchdowns, receiving and scoring just every way possible. Also playing an elite defense, making big plays there. Cortez Mills, the wide receiver from Florida, is finally getting back into full action from an early season injury. And last weekend, he had 2 TDs, 2 catches, 2 TDs, highly productive. And if you add the second TD, he had the long TD. I think maybe it was the first TD, technically, time-wise. But the big issue is the long one. And the play he makes and the catch he makes, it's a kind of a bad camera angle. You see the quarterback throw the ball, and then you just see Mills flashing in front of it, grabbing it, and going for a touchdown. He basically beats like two defenders and just flashes by them. I'm not going to say Mills. I'm going to hype up Mills a little bit here and understand. I'm just talking about this one play. That one play was very CeeDee Lamb-like. The defenders should have stopped the play. He snagged the ball, split them, and just flew into the end zone. So let's hope Cortez Mills is staying with his Sooner commitment, because obviously Elijah Thomas and Mills are exactly what OU needs to enroll early and boost this receiving core for next year. Cortland Guillory continues to just have a fantastic season in the Houston area. He had 2 more touchdowns as a Wildcat quarterback. He's playing everywhere for his team this year to try and get them wins. Again, I made the prediction that this cornerback class next fall is going to get the same kind of accolades as this safety class is this year. And Guillory, Haynes, and Hawkins are totally validating that comment with their high school play. Finally, I haven't mentioned them too much, but I wanted to tell you that the Carl Albert trio of Haynes, Washington, and James are just smashing opponents. All 3 of them are playing offense and defense, making big plays, making touchdowns, big stops, interceptions returned for touchdowns, touchdown receptions. And they're blowing out teams. So some days they're not getting that many stats because their high school's blowing teams out. So, but the Carl Albert trio looks fantastic, and I think those guys are going to be all big contributors in Norman. So finally, OU's made some, other than the Caleb Burns 2025 offer I talked about, OU's made a couple, and the 3 running back offers that I just mentioned. OU did make a couple other a couple of other offers out there. I mentioned 2 of these last week, but I've had a chance to catch up on some film, so I'll just repeat them and give you guys a little more perspective. For 2027, they offered Texas linebacker Braylon Williams, who goes by the nickname The Beast. And I've watched his film. Beast is the correct word. He is a physical linebacker. Just an absolute beast inside, to be trite and cliche. He's just smashing folks around, stopping them. Running backs he's just in the center, and he's just the anvil that running back hammers hit and go nowhere, makes them go nowhere. He's got lots of offers, but you've got to think at some point with Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie and Stutzman probably being an All-American Buckus winner, Kip Lewis just taking a TD, game-winning TD against Auburn last week and being the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. You got to think OU's linebacker recruiting is about to get a big bump. So Braylon the Beast Williams would be a serious piece of a future Sooner defense, I think. Love him on film. And then OU's offered a couple of 2026 guys. They offered this guy last week, and I didn't have too many details on him. It's Ryan Mosley. He's a wide receiver from Georgia, from the Carrollton area, which is basically just the massive, giant Atlanta metro area, which kind of goes in every direction and has star players in every direction. On film, he looks like he's about 6'3", 200 pounds. Big physical frame. He's also, for a big physical guy, he's very fluid, a smooth athlete. He's got excellent speed, and when secondary defenders do get next to him to tackle him, they bounce off him. There's a couple of plays where he just walks through 3 defenders and takes the ball to the house. There's a slant, kind of a delay. There's kind of a deeper slant, deeper crossing pattern where he's 5 yards short of the end zone. 3 guys are there, and he walks through them standing up into the end zone. So he looks really good. Obviously, OU's got a bunch of 2026 wide receivers they're looking at. They'll probably sign another 4-player class, I think. So you've got guys like Mason James, Davion Gross, Aljur Miles, Zion Robinson, Jordan Clay, Zion Robinson from Mansfield, Jordan Clay from San Antonio, Davion Gross, we talked about a couple of weeks ago. He's from Frisco Lone Star. Mason James, obviously, is from Norman. And then you got also players like Jalen Pyle, who's from Dallas, the Dallas area. I think Dallas Baptist. I think I have that right. But this kid Mosley, he looks legit in terms of a big wideout. So another wide receiver talent in the high school. In high school right now, it's just absurd. It's just the college level, it's absurd. The portal, it's absurd. In the NFL, obviously, you see Neighbors. You see Neighbors, I think, with the Giants. Young wide receivers are making just big plays everywhere, and you see the freshmen Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams in this recruiting class. It's wide receiver talent year over year is just becoming better and better and deeper and deeper. Off that little note, the most recent offer, I think it was a couple of days ago, was Nolan Wilson. He's a defensive end from Mississippi. He's been offered by like the entire SEC in like the last 2 weeks. He's like 6'5", 240 defensive end. He's a monster off the edge, burst, physicality, just everything you want in a defensive end to try and shut down these passing games that have all these big receivers I've mentioned. I have no idea where OU is in his pecking order in terms of what he's looking at. I mean, he's a name that's gone from nowhere to having offers from OU, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, A&M, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. So basically, his offer list has just blown up, and it's now probably got Michigan and Ohio State in there as well. FSU, probably Miami. He's getting offers from everywhere, and his first 5 games of this year are pretty damn impressive. So OU's throwing their hat in there. OU's got DN targets: KJ Ford, Jake Krull, Titan Davis from the Missouri, St. Louis area, just to rattle off some names that they're looking at. So, but Nolan Wilson is going to end up being like a 4-star top 200 kind of guy based upon what I'm seeing right now. So we'll see if OU has any luck there. So thanks, everyone, for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and don't forget to leave a rating. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe the podcast. We've been getting some good YouTube numbers. I really appreciate that from everybody. Also, once again, please visit patreon.com/Sooners360817 and click subscribe. Again, we have a trial. You can do a free trial. That Patreon site is generating revenue that keeps this podcast going and allows me to keep this podcast free. So if you enjoy that, please tell your friends, and you've been telling your friends about this podcast. You've been watching it on YouTube. Please give the Patreon site a free trial. You'll see my written content there. Posting an article about D-line recruiting tomorrow. Posted a recruiting update there today. So, folks, please give the Patreon site a try. Thanks everyone for listening. I really appreciate the listening the viewership on YouTube, and the listening community on all the pod platforms. We'll be back later this week with hopefully an update on who OU is expecting to be as official visitors for the Texas game. They can host visitors this year. They couldn't last year. It rotates every year. It's not a great unofficial visit experience for the coaches. They're not allowed to. I believe they're not allowed to interact with the players afterwards, but they are able to offer free tickets and get players into the game. So we'll see who OU is able to see who wants to come see OU play the #1 Texas Longhorns. So, all right. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.